Time is finite. When it's gone, it's gone. It's the one thing you can never get back. As an entrepreneur, I'm going to show you 5 things I've quit doing that have not only saved my time, they've helped me go from struggling to having financial freedom and living life on my terms. People always want to talk about what they should do to be more successful. And in almost every case, the conversation turns into what they should not do. So let's go beyond the usual things you hear and talk about a few of the highest level habits and beliefs I know are holding people back. Starting with reading a book only one time. Because I place a high value on time, I'm very selective about which books I read. They need to be about a subject I'm deeply interested in and want to become better at. Because if I'm going to read a book, I want to get 100% out of it, as in every ounce of value the author intended. Years ago, I had a mentor who gave me this powerful perspective on books. He said they can be absolute treasure troves of wisdom because an author will literally pour their years or even decades of knowledge into what they're writing. And unfortunately, most people will only skim through a book one time and then move on. He said that's like digging for gold, finding one nugget, and then walking away. He said if there's something you want to become or accomplish in life, and a book teaches that, then don't just read it once, read it 3 times. Or in today's world, download the Audible and listen to it 3 times. See, the first time is your overview. You're getting a general sense of the content, the main themes, and what it is the author is trying to tell you. The second time, you're going for understanding. Now, you're diving deeper into the concepts and starting to understand how they all relate to each other. And the third time, it's about application. This is where all the dots connect, and you can start putting what you've learned into practice in the real world. Let me share something, and I talk about this in a video called This Channel's Origin Story. A few years ago, I randomly met a guy named Daryl Eves while standing in line at a Starbucks. He told me what he did, we exchanged information, and a couple of weeks later his book shows up called The YouTube Formula. At first I flipped through it, kind of speed reading and glossing over all the technical parts, but I can say my YouTube knowledge went up like 10x. A few weeks later, on an 800-mile road trip, I bought the Audible version and listened to the entire thing. By the end of that time, my understanding had increased like 30x. I could literally open YouTube, look at a channel, and recognize exactly what Daryl Eves was talking about. A few months later, I listened to it a 3rd time, and this is when everything really clicked. I understood why specific strategies worked, how to implement them, and most importantly, how to apply them to this channel. My mentor also told me if you're aiming for mastery in a subject, you should commit to reading a book 5 times. By that point, not only can you apply everything in it, you can teach the concept to others. So, the next time you pick up or download a book, ask yourself this. Are you just hoping to pick up a gem here or there, or are you digging deep for something far more valuable? And by the way, if you've read a book that's truly impacted you as an entrepreneur, or if what I'm talking about is resonating with you, share that in the comments below. When I became intentional about the books I wanted to learn from, and then took the time to absorb as much as possible, I began to accelerate my learning curves in ways other people never will, which leads me to number 2, listening to people who haven't done it themselves. I've had many people in my life who've given me advice, and in a lot of cases, it ended up wasting my time or even setting me back. So I made a rule that I now live by. I've quit listening to people who've not achieved what I want to accomplish. Think about it. The reason I took the advice of Daryl Eves is because when I Googled him, I saw that he's spoken on massive stages and generated billions of views for people like Mr. Beast. Instantly, he was credible and validated because he's achieved what he's telling others. So, in your life, there's always going to be people who have good intentions and will give you advice on all kinds of things. But the filter I recommend is this. Have they done the thing themselves and found success? Like the friend who gives you business advice but has never run a business, the person giving you financial advice but doesn't have any money, or the person telling you to go use so-and-so but they've never actually used that person. I recently said this to one of the founders I work with. If your goal is to build a $100 million company that can be sold in 3 years, then go find the person in your industry who's already done it. Reach out and connect with them. Ask for a meeting. Offer them an advisor role or advisor shares, or whatever it takes so you can leverage their experience and expertise. The point is this: not all advice is created equal. The best guidance comes from those who've already walked the path that you want to be on. So surround yourself with people who've been where you want to go and let their success lead you. Anything less is often a waste of time and energy and money. And this is just good life advice. I tell my kids, always seek out the people who live the values and skills you want to develop. Now, I don't mean for this to sound rude. You can still let people have their opinions, but be selective and intentional with what they tell you. Which brings me to number 3, blaming anyone other than myself. The third thing I quit is blaming anyone other than myself for my situation. This one's been hard because it's been easy to blame these circumstances, other people's behavior, or them not liking me. But the moment I stopped making excuses and owned my results, good or bad, everything changed. Taking responsibility gave me the power to fix what wasn't working and build on what was. The power to evolve. In a recent video, I talk about my failed startup, Perpetual Green. We missed our chance because we didn't have product market fit. I wasted 18 months of my life and close to $300,000. And it would have been easy to blame my business partners, or their spouses, or the economy, or our slow software engineer. But the truth is this: I should have been focusing on determining market viability as soon as possible by actually going out and selling the MVP to people. I could have received and analyzed their feedback. I would have learned everyone wanted the Perpetual Green product for $399 and not $999. This is something I could have done way earlier, but I didn't. And while it's an expensive learning lesson looking back, the only person I have to blame is myself. Think about it. When I was 40 pounds overweight, I couldn't blame the food I was eating, right? I made the decision to eat it. If I missed a sales opportunity, I couldn't blame the customer for not liking me because I had the power to improve my skills, communicate the offer better, and find other ways to show my value. When I stopped blaming outside factors and took full ownership of my outcomes, I had the power to really change my life. Blame will keep you stuck, while responsibility propels you forward. Whether it's a failed business, a missed opportunity, or some other personal setback, the moment I stopped pointing fingers and started asking, what could I have done differently? I unlocked the ability to evolve and find higher levels of success. Which leads me to number 4, ignoring red flag personality traits. In my younger days, I would ignore traits in someone's personality where there were red flags of some kind. I was too naive or too ambitious to slow down and take the time to better understand the people I allowed into my life. This included close relationships, business partners, contractors, and employees. I used to believe in giving people the benefit of the doubt, so much that I ignored my instincts when something felt off. If someone was inconsistent with their words or behavior, I told myself they were just having a bad day. If someone avoided accountability or shifted blame, I rationalized it as them being under a lot of pressure. However, ignoring these signs came at a high cost later because I learned that people who lack integrity or drive, no matter how nice they are or good looking they are, or that your friend recommended them, can quickly sabotage your momentum. With employees, I've been burned by overlooking things like being late, gossiping, or being resistant to feedback, only to watch those behaviors fester and then affect everyone else in the company. The same goes for partnerships. More than once, I'd partnered with someone who had charisma and popularity, but lacked in people skills or follow-through. They would overpromise and underdeliver, then make excuses and dodge tough conversations. Instead of confronting the issues or cutting ties, I convinced myself things would eventually get better when XYZ happened. But here's the truth: it never did. In personal relationships, it's even more challenging. Sometimes you let things slide because you care about the other person, or because you don't want to seem judgmental, or because you know if you bring something up, they might pull away. But those red flags, no matter how small they are, don't disappear. They only lead to trouble later. I came to realize, once again, that I was the problem. Ignoring red flags wasn't an act of compassion or optimism. It was my failure to protect my business and my vision. I believe people show you who they are in small ways long before something becomes an issue. Learning to recognize these warning signs and act on them isn't about being overly critical or a micromanager. It's about setting boundaries and creating the kind of life and business you deserve. So now, if something feels off, even from the first time I meet someone, I pay close attention. I move slowly and use more persuasive questioning. I dive deeper into subjects that can reveal more about their personality traits and motivations. Because ignoring red flags might be easier in the moment, it's never worth the cost in the long run. Which brings me to number 5, trying to change people. This might sound surprising coming from someone who spent over 2 decades as a trainer of some sort. But here's the hard truth. I've learned you cannot change people who refuse to change themselves. And I've stopped trying. If a person will not take accountability to change themselves or their situation, then I've learned there's not much I can do for them. I've learned this the hard way after building 3 large real estate organizations and training over 1,500 people in the course of 12 years. I'd pour my heart and soul and resources into their success. One-on-one coaching sessions, late-night phone calls, hundreds of thousands of dollars in tools and live speakers and education portals. And while a small group of them went on to build remarkable careers and make millions of dollars, the truth is, only about 10% actually took action and are still in the business today. Here's where I went wrong. I assumed everyone shared my drive and ambition. I believed them when they said that they were ready to change, only to be let down time and time again. The reality is that most people talk about wanting better for themselves, but very few are willing to act on it. As my grandma used to say, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Another experience that drives the point home. Years ago, I volunteered with a nonprofit that helped people find employment, and my position was helping them build better resumes. I would meet with someone, listen to their story, and pour a couple hours into crafting a professional resume tailored exactly to them. But here's what shocked me. Less than half of them ever showed up for their second appointment, and even fewer actually used the new resume to apply for jobs. They'd come back in 3 months and still be unemployed. It was crazy. This isn't about being cynical. It's about being honest. People have to meet you halfway. That's why I've adopted what I call the push-pull method. Before I invest significant time or energy, I give people a small task to complete first. It's a simple but powerful filter. It separates those who are genuinely ready to take action from those who just like the idea of improvement. Here's the truth I want you to take away. Stop wasting your energy on people who won't help themselves. Invest your time in those who are willing to put in the work. More importantly, invest in improving yourself and building something that creates impact for those who are ready, because that's where the real transformation happens. So there you have it, the 5 things I quit to become more successful. Remember, success isn't about adding more complications that waste your time and don't provide results. It's about cutting out what is holding you back. So ask yourself this, what are the things in your life you should probably quit? If there's someone in your life that needs to hear this message, please share the video, and I recommend that you watch the next one. The things I wish I could have told myself 20 years ago.